My wife isn't the same as when we first met almost 2 decades ago, and I kept track of her affection in a diary to make sure I'm not delulu. Now, I'm in a constant cycle of being blamed for making her feel bad, so she'll be met with these divorce papers instead. Posted by you/Boysenberry, still 1498. I, 34M, and my wife, 43F, have been together for 16 years and married for 7. We have a 4-year-old daughter. After the first few years, my wife was very kind, present, loving, and affectionate. Things have changed a lot. I rarely receive kisses from her, let alone hugs or kind words. She doesn't ask how I am in the morning or say good morning or good night. I am tired of this. I have told her in every possible way that, as a man, I need these expressions of love to feel loved. Her excuse is that she is too stressed because of our child, but these issues started even before our daughter was born. She says everything depends on my behavior towards her. Every time, it always depends only on me. When we argue about this, she says I'm exaggerating. Tired of arguing for a year, I recorded all her expressions of love over the past month in a diary. I know this may seem exaggerated, but believe me, I am exhausted. I don't know how else to show her the lack of love I feel. Can you tell me if you, who have a beautiful marriage and are deeply in love, have so few demonstrations of affection during the month? What I don't understand is that sexually, things are fine. We have sex 2 to 3 times a week, sometimes initiated by her. I am fed up. I don't feel loved as I would like, and I have lived like this for many years. I can't take it anymore. Please don't get mad at me. Everyone needs their own time to understand certain things, and I realized this over the past year. I am a romantic, passionate, and attentive man. Normally, I give 5 to 6 hugs a day, kisses, compliments, surprises, and I can talk about anything. However, being treated this way makes me shut down and withdraw because of the lack of reciprocity. I am seriously thinking of divorcing because I don't feel heard or understood. I don't see a person who understands and takes action to change the situation. Relevant comments. Commenter, what is the breakdown of the sacred chores or household work? OP, I'm doing 50-50, working, watching the kid, taking out the trash, doing laundry, and so on. The fact is that even before the kid, she behaved like this. I don't want my wife to be my mommy, and I'm fully capable of living alone and doing everything because I already have. Commenter, or that everything depends on my behavior towards her. Can you elaborate on this one? OP, basically, we were running in this circle until a few months ago. I don't receive what I ask for, affection, and I'm treated poorly. After a long time of patiently waiting for change, I stonewall or get offended. We argue about this. She says she has had enough of my stonewalling and being offended because it hurts her. We end the fight with me being the one that swallows it and trying to let it go. I tell her what is causing this and ask her to take action. Time passes, and we're back at the start. Some months ago, I read about stonewalling and how bad it is, so I stopped, but it's still really hard for me to deal with this lack of affection. The problem is that I have also been treated very poorly during these fights. I have been yelled at, called names, and threatened with divorce. I'm hurt on so many levels. Commenter, what are you doing to love her back? I feel like the diary can backfire because it focuses your emotions on her actions rather than on what you can control. OP, the diary is about facts, not my emotions. If I receive no hugs for 5 days in a row, then that's no hugs for 5 days in a row. I tell her I love her. I tell her how beautiful she is. I joke with her. I buy her favorite premium soda when I do groceries. I ask her how she feels when she is ill, and I take care of her. But do I feel reciprocated? Nah. OP elaborates more. Exactly. I relate to this comment. Even though we have a difficult 4-year-old child, we have many relaxed moments. I kiss her, hug her for a few seconds, and tell her something nice. It is impossible that she is so stressed that she can't hold my hand for a few seconds. I think her issue is that she comes from a family with an abusive father who hit and called names. He constantly fought with her mother and cheated on her. She received love from her mother but not from her father, and I think that's the result. But I don't understand how she could give me what I needed during the first 1 or 2 years of our relationship. Was it just because it was new? I also asked her how her 2 previous relationships were. I wanted to know if those partners complained about these things, but she said they didn't. She told me she gave them hugs, but they were all 3 to 4 years older than her. Commenter, I'm not saying you were immature for your age, but you were still an 18-year-old. You can only be so mature at that age, you know? I'm saying she had to be very immature for her age because it doesn't make sense otherwise. There had to be some manipulation there from her that you missed because you were an unassuming young man. Like you said, she had experience from previous relationships. She knew how to woo you in and get you to commit. OP, thanks, but why would a nice 27-year-old woman pursue an 18-year-old and manipulate him into committing? What are your thoughts? If you're 27, young, and beautiful, won't you be able to attract men your age or older? They also have their lives together. Commenter, no, because older men have more experience too and are harder to manipulate. Maybe they didn't want her for a reason? Maybe they saw she didn't have enough to offer for a long-term relationship? I'm just guessing, only you know the truth. OP, so you think they already understood her lack of affection and attention for a long-term relationship? The issues I'm having right now? I always thought she doesn't respect me because of the age gap, and that's why she doesn't treat me well. Commenter, when you think back to getting married, did she lack affection the majority of the marriage? If so, then yeah, I'd guess the other men probably noticed early on and didn't want to put up with it. If you feel she doesn't respect you, then that is a whole other problem. Do you feel she looks down on you? OP, yep, she did. I don't know how they were able to spot this. Op responds to multiple comments regarding the age gap, him being 18 and her 27 at the time. She was not pursuing me. We just met in chat back in the old days. We talked, and then interest was born. She was very skeptical about considering me seriously because of the age, but after some time, she did. We met and got engaged. Could you please elaborate on I feel like the age gap could play a huge part? What is your point of view? I was more mature at my age because of my hard life before 18, so I wasn't an immature freshman. I get your point, but you're missing some info. Maybe I was more mature and she was less mature. But still, I don't get why she had 2 relationships with guys 3 to 4 years older than her. Commenter, did Op do something for his wife, and if so, what was her response? OP, yes, 2 months ago, I even questioned myself to the point where I treated her like a princess for 2 weeks straight. I didn't get offended, and I constantly told her how I love her and how sexy she is. I hugged and kissed her a lot. But what did I receive in return? Just 2 compliments and one I love you in 2 weeks. After this, I felt so bad and unreciprocated that I decided not to do this test anymore. It hurt too much. Update 1. These days, after publishing the post, I have spent a lot of time reading online, watching reels, and checking YouTube videos to better understand my situation. Thanks to one of these videos, I discovered the issue of avoidant attachment style. I was stunned by how closely my wife fit the description, so I set out to thoroughly study the case. I also identified other things I should do in my relationship: set clear boundaries, ensure my requests are understood, respected, and fulfilled, stand firm in my position, and, if necessary, make it clear that I am willing to leave. The next day, I showed the Excel sheet to my wife. Her first response was, "But yesterday we cuddled." I told her, "Look at the facts from the past month. There are things you never do, and the few things you do are a result of my complaints or arguments. They're not debatable, I'm sorry." Then I explained what I discovered and how she fits into this issue. I read her the main characteristics of these people and the types of traumas they often go through. I explained to her, knowing her family story, that this was mainly due to the abuse she suffered as a child from her parents. My wife was stunned and listened, then asked me, "So what should I do to solve this?" My answer was, "I don't know, because I really don't know. What I do know, and what I told her, is that these problems originated in her childhood and need to be addressed now. I'm currently informing myself about the options available to solve or at least alleviate these issues. Sadly, our difficult schedules make seeing a therapist off the table for now." During the day, I cried a lot because, finally, after 16 years, I understood why we had these problems. A strong sadness washed over me as I recalled all the times I was treated poorly, with indifference, and did not receive the affection I wanted. I also remembered all the lies and manipulations used over time to cover up her shortcomings. I think the first step is to focus on myself and address my own issues since I developed an anxious attachment style. I will probably use an online course and books to do this since I have very little time between my daughter and work. If it works, I will propose it to my wife, who says, "I understand. Don't worry. Now I know what I need to give you without courses or anything." But I have serious doubts about this statement and will continue tracking what happens in my diary to gather objective data. I've already told her that if, unfortunately, this situation doesn't improve, I will proceed with divorce. If it comes to that, I won't go back. That will be the end. I will let you know what happens. Personally, I want to see how things go next week. I am sure, unless I am mistaken, that my wife will only last 3 days. In any case, I will continue on my path to heal and be ready for a new relationship when the time comes. Update 2. So, as expected, my wife lasted less than 3 days, actually just 1, in terms of giving kisses, hugs, and cuddling. But it doesn't matter. I found all the things I need to fix in myself, so I'm starting this journey alone to grow and be able to proceed with a divorce without hesitation. I won't go back to her. I'm also seeing a lawyer to have everything checked before I move forward in the future. The interesting part is that I listed all my insecurities and issues related to the trauma I experienced in my childhood. I see a lot of things I need to work on and fix within myself. Out of curiosity, I asked my wife what the top 3 things she thinks should be fixed, expecting at least 10 items, but she only mentioned defensiveness and stonewalling. She said that without those, I would be a perfect husband. I was stunned and confused the whole day. I also asked her if removing those 2 things would lead to her loving me more, but she said no. She already loves me the way I am, and this is just my cross to bear. So it seems she's happy with the marriage while I'm not. I want more from a relationship, at least the basic care of a wife. I don't think I'll provide any more updates because I'll be focused on improving myself. But when the time comes for me to proceed with the divorce, I'll let you know what happens. Relevant comments. Op responds on how he is moving forward and working on himself. While I'm trying to start my healing process, I'm literally crying every day as I prepare myself for divorce. The probability of her change is less than 1%, and our issues are deep-rooted in the past. I've tried everything to get her attention. I gave her all the love I could possibly give and tried so many times to accommodate her way of being, but I've had enough. I'm heartbroken. My dear wife, my lovely wife, my first woman in my life. I did everything I could to love her with all my heart and to be recognized for this, to be loved for this. Every small bid for attention is lost in the dark. I'm just preparing myself for the divorce, trying to cry out all the tears before I finally tell her I'm leaving. It's one of the most difficult things I've ever done, and believe me, I've faced many crazy and difficult challenges in the past. This one is probably going to kill me, but I need to proceed. I can't live like this any longer, and I don't want my child to see this and become like this because the chances of her finding a good partner will decrease considerably. Commenter, did Op try to connect with his wife over the years, being affectionate in their marriage? OP, yes, I tried that for a couple of years, even during COVID, but it was hell. I was just working, playing video games until 1 or 2 in the morning, and sometimes watching a movie with her while she always fell asleep. There was no real connection. I was doing something, and she was on her phone. I remember one time when a friend said he was about to disconnect from the game because his girlfriend wanted to stay with him and watch something together. I tried this, but it feels like I'm always missing something. I don't have that deep connection. I feel alone. When we have arguments, I have no love bank filled to draw from. I only have negative feelings. This way of being isn't me. I want to feel wanted. I want to be cuddled. I need love. If I'm feeling bad, I want someone to hug me and say, "Sweetheart, don't worry, everything is going to be all right." She never does this. Instead, she says things like, "Level up. Life is hard, blah, blah, blah." I know that it's her traumas, and I don't have any resentment toward her. I just can't keep up with this. I also love to give love, and stopping that is devastating. I have other issues too, like her almost never initiating any discussion and never allocating time for me. It's always me chasing her, and I've had enough of it. Sex can't be our only way of connecting. She's always with me, but her mind is somewhere else. I tried to enter her mind, but no luck in 16 years. It's been a full year that I've talked about this issue with my wife. She frequently denies it, saying things like, "It's not true. Tomorrow I'll show you. This very morning I gave you a kiss, I'm affectionate," and see other couples? They don't engage anymore after all these years. How would you feel after a full year of sweet attempts to talk about this issue?
Frequently, she would say her lack of affection is due to me doing X, Y, or Z.
I had to create a spreadsheet to have evidence of the issue. The evidence shows that the affection I receive only comes when I fight with her or complain the day before. One day of change is followed by weeks of nothing. It bothered her, and she was angry. Sure, I get the frustration of seeing something like that, but does she understand my 1-year frustration? I'm not threatening divorce over a spreadsheet. I'm threatening over a year of trying to talk and solve the issue. I could have said, "I'm done, bye-bye," a year ago, but I chose to fight with everything that came to my mind. Yes, I created a spreadsheet after months of no affection. You could create a spreadsheet with 0 in every cell for 90 days. You don't know what you're talking about, and you surely don't know what it feels like to receive no affection in a marriage for so long. Do I have personal issues and traumas? Yes, and I'm going to address them. Does my wife have issues and traumas? Yes, but is she going to do something about it? Nope. That will likely be the most probable scenario. So, hence the divorce, so she can give her indifference to whoever she wants. Update 3. I began my journey of shadow work on my own. I read thoroughly about how to do it, studied everything carefully, and started confronting my past and what I experienced in my family of origin, even though it was painful. The first thing I realized was this clingy and needy part of me that craved love a bit too much. I understood that a wounded and defenseless child lived inside me. I needed to embrace him, hold him, and take care of him myself because I was the only one who could give him unconditional and always available love. It might sound strange, but realizing this allowed me to connect with my deeper self, embrace him, and let him know that I now understand. I'm here, I protect him, and I'm here for him. From that moment on, I stopped seeking attention from my wife. It was a total reset. With the new love I learned to show myself, I feel calm, secure, and most importantly, no longer needy. I stopped seeking my wife entirely, no kisses, no hugs, no sweet words, and no conversations initiated by me. If she wants to, she can reach out, otherwise, I'm no longer interested. I'm happy with myself. In the 2 weeks since this change, she hasn't complained about anything. This made me realize that my hypotheses about her attachment style were correct. After this realization, I connected almost all the triggers I felt in my marriage to the traumas I experienced in the past. I started addressing issues of criticism and stonewalling. I discovered that because of how my mother treated me and the physical and verbal abuse from my stepfather, who hated me, I was always hypervigilant, trying to understand if I was in danger and if anyone wanted to harm or criticize me. I suffered immensely reliving all this, but I managed to understand why I was triggered, reasoned about it, and tried to put myself in my mother's and stepfather's shoes to understand their behavior. I know both of their childhood stories, and I have radically desensitized myself from this pain. Without going into details, I told my wife that I resolved one problem she always brought up, and to watch for the results in the coming days. In those days, there were countless situations where I would normally have exploded or stonewalled, but I got through them calmly and unscathed, without being triggered, even during important moments. This realization made me happy because I finally understood how much my past negatively impacted my present. Unfortunately, while we don't have frequent arguments anymore, she hasn't changed significantly. I've noticed her being happier and calmer, but she hasn't transformed at all. I had asked her before starting this journey if resolving my issues would make her the loving, present woman from 2008 again, and she said yes, but I haven't seen any changes yet. Some evenings, she comes to hug me for barely 3 minutes, and once she gave me a quick kiss and called me love. That's it. It's okay. Right now, my focus is on my healing. What surprised me the most was my 4-year-old daughter's rapid response. As I became calmer and more confident, I noticed a surge in her tranquility and happiness. She now wants to play and spend time with me much more willingly. She immediately sensed the change and feels secure with me, which fills me with joy and strengthens our bond. Continuing the shadow work, I'm now addressing the constant arguments and rejections I faced from my stepfather whenever I asked for something. Whenever I asked for anything, like going out with friends, getting pizza, playing soccer, or needing money for a sandwich, there were always endless arguments where he'd say no. I had to fight with him and argue endlessly. Besides the many no's, he always tied them to things I hadn't done or had done wrong. I won't get into details, but he hated me and nearly drove me to suicide. Reliving this, I understood the dynamics of my relationship with my wife. Even though she makes many mistakes, she always tells me that everything depends on me and what I did or didn't do with her. I'm almost done addressing the rejections from my stepfather, my feelings of inferiority, anxiety, and low self-esteem. Little by little, I'm discovering a sea of self-esteem, grit, determination, and anger that lies within me. With my wife, I'm becoming a different person, confident, strong, and more understanding of her needs. In these 2 weeks, I've felt a calm and serenity I hadn't experienced in a long time. There are 0 arguments and 0 dramas with her. But there's a downside. As you know, we have a stressful situation with our daughter, and sometimes the days are very heated. Like 2 days ago, my wife verbally insulted me, using various bad words. I confronted her, without using any bad words, and told her to save the behavior for her street friends, not for me, her husband. I hadn't done anything wrong in that situation. The next day, we had another conflict where she physically threatened to slap me. I wasn't scared. Instead, I felt a strong anger and desire to defend myself. I told her she must not dare to do that. I no longer tolerate this behavior. I'm not the same person anymore, and I'm not afraid of her. So, my life is really heated, with many problems and changes happening. Doing this shadow work hurts, but the results are clear and evident. I'm finally understanding myself, helping myself, and rebuilding my self-esteem, which is drastically changing my family dynamics. I'm also going to see a lawyer next week to clearly understand my situation regarding divorce, my daughter, finances, and other factors. Finally, I'm no longer afraid of being left or leaving my wife, which has held me back for 16 years from taking this step if necessary. I'll end with 2 things. I hope to heal quickly. Now that I am healing, I can recognize my wife's problems more easily and how to help her. I aim to be at least 90% healed before I explain to her how I resolved my issues and who I am now. Many of you criticized me for my Excel diary, but it has been useful for me. Now that I recognize my flaws, insecurities, fears, anxieties, and triggers, I know what I need to work on. Additional info. OP, I'm taking this time to heal. Having someone around who triggers you helps you understand yourself better. Once I'm healed and confident, I can approach the divorce calmly and serenely if things don't improve. She needs to heal too, but right now, I'm not in a position to tell her anything or expect changes from her. My focus is on my healing first. If she decides she's okay the way she is, then a goodbye is guaranteed. Commenter, what resources did you use to deal with your trauma? OP, nothing specific. I'm just using a moleskin notebook and a pen. I'm exploring my traumas with 5 questions. What am I doing right now? I explain what triggers me, how it affects me, the emotions involved, and the people connected. I try to be as honest as possible. What past experiences led me to this behavior? I dive into my childhood trauma related to this behavior, stating facts I remember and connecting the dots. Why did this happen? Here, I explore the people involved, mostly my mother and stepfather. I try to put myself in their shoes to understand their traumas and perspectives. This way, they're no longer monsters but just grown children with their own issues. I then have compassion for them and forgive them. What did I understand? I reflect on what I learned by answering the first 3 questions. What do you want to say to yourself? In this part, I talk to myself, hug myself, and reassure myself that it's okay to feel the way I feel, that I'm strong now, and that I'm here for myself. And after this process, I feel free. Update 4. 1. My healing process. It's going really well. I've dealt with more issues from my childhood, and all of this has given me incredible confidence and self-esteem. After years of hating myself and calling myself awful names, I looked in the mirror and loved myself. I actually said, "I love you, and you are the most important person in my life." I love you exactly as you are, with your strengths and weaknesses. These were the words I always sought from a woman, but my wife never said or made me feel this way. I did it for myself. Now that I've matured, I've become a man for the first time. I realized that no one was going to help me, and it was all up to me. I understood that everything is my responsibility, and I alone can change what happens in my life. From this moment on, when I have difficult and sad times because of my situation, I no longer fall into despair. I'm here to console myself and lift my spirits. This is so new for me that I'm genuinely happy for the first time in my life. In the coming weeks, I'm tackling the remaining issues. I think I'll be done in 1 to 2 weeks. Why is everything progressing so quickly? Because I'm extremely clear about my problems. I have the will to face everything again, and I know how to proceed. 2. Relationship with my daughter. My daughter is quickly understanding who's taking control and leading this family. I've noticed that she has started to respect me more, look for me more, and trust me more. She is the one who's grasping what's happening the fastest. I am falling more in love with my daughter, and I'm realizing how much my personal self-esteem issues were negatively impacting her life. Now that I'm healing, she's healing too. I'm over the moon about this. 3. Relationship with others. I've stopped being a people pleaser. I no longer care about looking nice, being agreeable, or thanking people too much. I focus on simple, precise, and well-formulated interactions without fear. I don't even recognize myself. Every time I act differently from the past, I feel a fire of self-esteem inside me that confirms what I've resolved in my mind. 4. Relationship with my wife. Obviously, it's not going well, which shouldn't come as a surprise. I'm discussing everything with my lawyer to prepare for the divorce. In my country, there are specific laws and situations to be aware of. My wife is not taking the power shift well, but the disrespect has decreased. I no longer accept being yelled at in the face, it's unacceptable. After several attempts to calm her down, she threatened me, saying that we need to talk about going our separate ways. She said the chances she gave me have run out, and it's necessary to separate for the common good. One day, she mentioned it several times in the afternoon. I replied, okay, let's talk. I agree, we should go our separate ways. I need a real woman who loves me. I don't need to stay with you. Each time, she watched my reactions. By the evening, she was silent and didn't say anything. 2 days later, she said again that we should talk about separation, and I said, okay, no problem. This morning, she put on makeup and came to give me a kiss, saying that for the sake of the family, we need to give the relationship another chance. However, I understand what happened and why I'm in this situation. When we met, I was 18 years old and insecure. I felt ugly, lonely, and miserable in my family home and was desperately looking for a woman to be with. She is very beautiful. After 2 relationships with bad boys, where she was treated poorly, and many dates with people who recognized her, she found me, an insecure, good guy with nice ideals. She drained all the love and sweetness she could offer me, only her beauty and sex as a reward. I was hurt to discover all of this, but we moved forward. Sometimes I'm angry with her, and other times I think about how broken I was, and it was my fault too. But it doesn't matter, my healing process moves forward. To remove further power from her, I told her that I no longer want to have sex with her. I don't intend to let my mind get clouded by sex. I need a person who loves, esteems, and cares for me. Then sex happens because it is the cherry on top of all the love, not a tool to control me. Until next time.